Hello friend, my name is Ollie, and today I'd like to share some of my recent experiences in my quest to build discipline. So of course, I want to be a very disciplined person, right? I want to be strong, I want iron willpower and accomplish good things, I want to be productive. And I'm only 21, but in my opinion, I've already spent way too much of my life being lazy and unmotivated, not accomplishing anything good that serves me or anybody else, right? You know, and everybody should do this. I took the time to think about the type of person I want to be. That's important for everybody. And the type of person I want to be, I want to be disciplined. I want to be productive. I want to be active, right? I want to be the man who gets things done and does things to serve others, to bring myself to a better place, right? I'm not content to just sit and play video games all day. Sometimes I am, but generally I'm not. I don't want to live that way. And I love video games, but I realize I can't spend hours doing that. I'm not accomplishing anything that serves anybody. And, this isn't to say that this is easy for me. This is my quest to build discipline. It's actually still quite difficult. Just because I want to be this disciplined person, it doesn't mean it's always easy to make the right decision. And don't get me wrong, I love video games and I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I'm actually probably going to play later today. It's just, it's a sort of balance, a moderation, right? And I actually think there's a very strategic, healthy use for entertainment and whatnot, and I'm actually going to make a video about that later. But anyway, so I've seen a lot of videos and articles and whatnot talking about building discipline and how to do it, as well as why it's a good goal, what it can do for your life. And there's a lot of speakers that I really like. Ed Mylett, he's gotten pretty popular in the past couple of years. He was hugely influential for me. He's actually one of my chief role models right now. It's amazing how many things he said that have really deeply resonated with me. There's also Tony Robbins. You've probably heard of him. He's been popular for a long time, before I was born. Kyle Cease is really great. Jim Kwik, I've mentioned him on another video. Links in the description to all their stuff. And one video I wanted to point out was actually a TED Talk by a man named Jonathan Brickier. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. It was about breaking addiction, and he really goes into great detail about the mindset of habits and how habits are formed and broken. And so if you want to learn about that, I definitely recommend checking out that video. And the reason why I bring that up is because some of the concepts he talks about are going to be touched upon in this video. So let's define discipline as the ability to make a conscious, deliberate decision that is wise, productive, healthy, positive, right? It's something that truly serves you, despite your feelings, despite feeling like making another decision, right? And so this might mean not being lazy, using your time more wisely, such as playing Dark Souls 2 versus making content for Philosol, or not eating junk food, like all those cookies that I didn't eat yesterday. Whatever it is for you. Of course, I'm going to share my experiences, but some personal examples. Eating cookies at work. We sell cookies, and we put out some cookies that last 24 hours, and so the next day we bring back the old ones, right, and we can't sell them anymore, and they just get thrown out, right? It's just food waste. And food waste really stings for me, growing up in a frugal household. And also, before getting this job, I used to volunteer at a place. We would collect up donated food from stores. And this food is it's like near its shelf date. And so they would donate it to us, and we'd pass it out for free to people in need. And that has helped us a lot too. So the food waste, it stings, right? And the thing is, the employees can take the cookies if they want. And that's where my challenge comes in. So the food waste, it stings, right? But you can also use that as an excuse, right? Like, oh, well, it's just going to be thrown out. I might as well eat it. We don't like food waste. But here's the thing is that, yes, it's not cool to just throw out food. But the cookies aren't really helping me, are they? They're not really feeding me in a healthy way, right? They're not healthy at all, And also it's tempting because if you're in the middle of work and it's intense and fast-paced and you haven't eaten in a few hours and, oh, look, free cookies, right? I mean, it's a temptation. Or even at home, somebody might bring home a pie or ice cream or whatever. But fortunately, as I'm practicing building discipline, I'm becoming more and more aware of these opportunities to build discipline, and that's really what they are. More on that in a bit. These temptations, I'm becoming aware of when my mind is like, okay, yeah, I want to make this decision based in a craving or a habit, not really good judgment, right? So it's during these moments like these where you feel compelled to do something out of habit or whatever. Those are the exact moments that will either build or break my discipline, right? And so it's an opportunity for me to practice my deliberate decision making, thus building discipline, building that character, instead of making decisions based on habit and cravings. So mindfulness is really super important here. I'm paying attention and I'm becoming more and more aware of these opportunities to build discipline, right? And so this helps me want to make the better decisions, because then I see this temptation, this opportunity. I'm like, oh look, hey, I can get discipline here, right? You begin to really want the discipline. You begin to search for the discipline rather than searching for junk food or whatever feeds your cravings or habits, right? And it's almost like an addiction to discipline, or building an addiction to not being addicted. And disclaimer, I do not condone or recommend addiction. Don't get addicted. It's a play on words, it's an analogy. Okay, so, but really that's the biggest thing I wanted to convey in this video, was how important the mindset is, okay? And if you've seen some of my other videos, you've probably heard me mention that. And it is important for everything we do, because that's where a lot of our power is, right? Just the way we naturally go through life, right? If we can use that to our advantage towards a healthier direction, why shouldn't we? I mean, you could just brute force your beliefs, right? And be drained all the time. You could say, wow, I really, 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 really want that cookie, but I won't have it, right? And then you're not enjoying yourself, and you're just draining your mental energy. And more than that, I think it's less healthy anyway, because you want to be in the mindset of understanding that making the right decisions is helping you, right? It's not taking away. And so if you just brute force your beliefs and you still feel like it's not helping you, that's not really where you want to be. You want to understand that making the right decisions is a fulfilling thing. It's a good thing. It's not abrasive or antagonistic, right? When I choose not to eat the pie, okay, it's because I want health for my life, for my family, for my work, for anything I put my efforts towards. That's a good thing. That's a great cause, right? It's not taking away from me. It's giving me that brighter future. Let me put it this way. I like pie. Scratch that. I love pie, okay? But my desire for pie does not compare to my desire for, a long life, happiness, wealth, fulfillment, success, love, family, helping others, knowledge, all these things that I truly desire in my life, right? Pie doesn't compare, and so when I realize that despite my immense love and appreciation for pie, pie is actually counterproductive to the health and the mental state, the fitness, and mental state is really important for productivity, of course. Then it doesn't become the typical battle of pie versus not pie. Guess what? Pie wins that battle every time. It becomes the battle of pie versus six-pack abs and a healthy future, right? And success and health and all that. That is a much easier battle to win. It's a much easier decision to make, right? And the same basic technique can be used in pretty much any habit in your life, any mindset you want to change. You just stop and think about what these actions will mean for your life. We don't really do anything without a reason, and we don't really do anything without a consequence. When we do something, we're trying to make something happen. And so if you just stop and think about your actions that maybe aren't as deliberate, or they're influenced by habit or whatever, if you stop and think about, well, what does this really mean? What are the consequences? How does it affect my life, thus my future? Then it becomes a bit easier to make clearer decisions. And fortunately, I'm at the point now, and not always, but if I'm in this mindset, I can be at the point where I actually get more satisfaction from not eating the pie compared to eating the pie, right? It completely changes the game here, because it's not anymore about getting satisfaction versus not getting satisfaction for the sake of a better future 10 years from now, which is how we oftentimes view that, right? Not eating the pie. It becomes getting temporary, small scale, fleeting satisfaction plus a little guilt, versus immediate satisfaction and deep fulfillment that will help you for a long time. of course, allow yourself to feel it, right? I mean, believe me, I was tempted to eat that pie all day. I was at work and I was stressed and I was like, man, I know there's going to be pie when I get home. Every time I open the fridge, I see that pie, right? But I didn't eat the pie, and the next day I felt great about it. I really did. I practiced discipline, you know? I, I didn't view it as a draining experience or a loss. I viewed it as a success, a gain for me, a celebration of victory, right? And I allowed myself to feel great about it because it is something to feel great about. And I, I've done this many times that I make a good decision only to still feel bad about it. Yeah, that doesn't help, right? And it's silly, you know. Like you don't eat the pie, and then you're like, man, I missed that pie. Really could go for some pie. And it just makes you feel terrible, and I don't enjoy myself, and I know I'm more likely to make an irresponsible decision later, where I don't practice discipline because maybe I'll make an excuse like, oh well, I made a good decision earlier. I'm okay doing this now, or maybe your willpower is kind of drained, you want that mindset of understanding, oh yeah, this was a good thing, right? That actually builds the character. When you just kind of force yourself to do it because you know you should, but you still dread it, it kind of robs you of the character you're trying to build, right? I've noticed that in me at least. So it's super important to have that mindset because it works and it's true, I mean, compare the satisfaction of eating the piece of pie compared to the satisfaction of knowing that you had the strength to make a tough but good and healthy decision that will vastly improve your future, right? So, and it's that type of practice and realizing this that even helps me make content for Philosol, right? I'm not always in the headspace to do it. Sometimes I have to focus and be like, okay, I realize I want this for my future. I need this for my future, right? I had to be mindful and responsible and disciplined in order to do this. Mindfulness, priorities, logic, feeling, and being genuine. Those 5 things will make building and practicing discipline a lot easier. Ultimately, though, the core deciding factor in building your discipline is your choice. It's you, right? That's what discipline is making these decisions despite what you feel, right? That's what discipline is, and that's how it's built. And for me, it's been challenging, but it gets easier as I practice, right? And I have slipped some, even just between the time that I started writing my thoughts for this video and the time that I'm filming it today, I've kind of gone back and forth a couple times. Right now, fortunately, I'm in a good spot. I've been doing really well lately, and I'm on an upward trend. But I have to be careful to not let life stresses wear me down and distract me from my goal. I need to find a healthy way to decompress, not by eating junk food, feeding the habits I'm trying to break, right? And that's also why it kind of helps to have a mindset of gratitude for what you have and hope for your future, faith that what you're doing works, love for others. These healthy mindsets, they help you stay on track and prioritize the right things and realize what's important and what you really want in your life. And that helps you be more resilient to letting these life stresses overwhelm you. So it's not like building discipline and getting over a habit is one decision. Very often it's making the same decision over and over again. The temptation keeps coming. That's why having the mindset is important to set you up for success, right? To grow into the person that isn't as tempted by these things. And it takes discipline to grow into that person, right? You can practice discipline to just make the right decision, or you can practice discipline to make the right decision and point you towards that better direction to where you grow this character. The challenges won't stop, okay? I mean, there's always going to be more opportunities for pie in your life, or whatever your habit is. There's always going to be these opportunities to dive in again. But the difference is, are you the type of person who still has trouble saying no, or are you the type of person who doesn't, the person who's past it? Now, whether that's technically a really well-disciplined person or somebody who's used discipline to move past those cravings, so you're technically not using discipline anymore because you don't really need to tell yourself no, I don't really know how to define that, but they're both important. So some key difficulties for me. One, I have to be very aware of the justifications that I make to myself. Um, I have to tell myself the bottom line is, I have to remind myself of this, the bottom line is, if the pie takes me further away from my goal, I shouldn't eat the pie, right? It's really simple. But then there's like, oh, well, I deserve it, or it was a gift, or it's just a little, or I practiced discipline earlier. Those are non-factors. They are non-factors, okay? Pie will take me away from my true desire, right? When I acknowledge and accept that and understand that and feel it from the back of my brain to the front of my brain, I just know it, it's easier to make the right decision. I am ultimately the deciding factor in my decisions. You are ultimately the deciding factor in your decisions. And that's why we should set ourselves up for success to make those right decisions, right? By growing into this type of person. And it might hurt at first. It might be scary, or, the unfamiliar feeling, or the feeling of loss of not, indulging in whatever this is. You might end up making a poor decision, a decision you regret, and that's okay. Just keep trying. I cannot tell you how many countless times I have made a decision that I regretted. But on a lot of my bad habits, I kept going, and now I'm at so much better a spot. Even if I'm not still perfect, I'm still so much better, and I know I'm going to improve a lot more in my future. Another pitfall that I kind of see other people talk about online or whatever is to create an opportunity for yourself to build discipline, which is to say kind of setting yourself up with temptation. Please do not do that. That is a trap. Not wise, okay? So, it might seem like a good idea, but let me tell you, it bites when you fail. It's like you just lost to temptation when you weren't even tempted in the first place. That's not a good feeling. Exist in a peaceful state while you can, because there are going to be times in your life when that's not really an option for you, right? So take it when you can. And existing in that peaceful state, that'll give you the peace and the love and the positivity and the health that you need to grow into that person and exist in that state more often, right? Don't sabotage yourself. Anything you want to do, you want to achieve, will come with trials and temptations and challenges and pitfalls, right? You'll be presented with plenty of opportunities to build discipline. Please don't sabotage yourself, It doesn't make sense to just shoot for not doing something bad when that bad thing wasn't even an issue in the first place. So having discipline very oftentimes will help boost self-confidence. And with self-confidence comes motivation and drive to accomplish good things. And that could be in your work, it could be taking care of yourself, right? Maybe your fitness or whatever. It could be making something you wanted, like a book or a song you wanted to do, right? So I'm still in my journey to build discipline. I'm happy to say that I'm really getting into the attitude of getting to build discipline, and it has ebbed and flowed a bit, but that's part of it, And I have to be careful of my mind, stresses and temptations and negative moods and habit. By default, I'm going to want to eat the pie. And that's why I'm working to have discipline, to grow into the person that by default, I'm going to make the healthier decisions. But it takes discipline, practicing discipline to get to that point, for that to be my habit, for that to be my default. And I get a chance to work on that every time I open the fridge and I see a pie staring at me, right? And I keep that in mind. The priorities, the logic, I allow myself to feel the consequences of my actions either way, right? And it makes the better decision very clear for me. Not effortless, but also definitely not insurmountable. And I know sometimes it can feel insurmountable. It's not, I promise. I know I've gotten a lot better. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really sincerely hope you got a lot of good out of this. Please feel free to share with anybody you think will get use out of this. And please share your perspective. We have comments down there. Share your perspective. I'd love to hear it. I'd really appreciate it. Have a wonderful week. Much love. Okay, so it was funny because I was mentioning, there's nothing wrong with video games or anything, and I forgot that I was wearing my Mario shirt. Yeah. I think I'm going to go play Dark Souls.